Why do most online business owners fail miserably? You know, the stats are shocking. Around 98% of people don't actually succeed with their online business. And when you consider what we've got available, when you consider the tools, the training that's available for us, everybody should be able, and particularly with ChatGPT and AI, everybody should be making loads of money with their online business, but they're not. So in this video, I want to break down 3 main reasons why people fail online. And if you're struggling right now, if you're thinking about getting started with an online business, whether you're thinking about getting in affiliate marketing, network marketing, whatever it is, this video is going to be for you. So pay attention. Here is number 1. So number 1 is lack of knowledge. And when I first started in business, there was no internet, and typically businesses failed because either a lack of knowledge or lack of cash flow. They run out of money. And I always said, well, running out of money is down to a lack of knowledge. So knowledge really is everything. And I always say it's so important to learn your trade or learn your craft when it comes to developing anything, particularly an online business. And a lot of people, I see a lot of people right now relying on software or relying on something else to get them through. So it's almost like people are dipping their toe in the water in terms of, I want to learn a business, but I don't really want to get too wet. Okay, I just want to dip my toe in the water. I want to leverage the software, and I want the software to do the work for me because either I've got commitments or I just don't want to get too involved. Okay, and I appreciate that. Okay, but at the same time, that kind of attitude is lending itself to the 98% of people who don't succeed with an online business. So if you're going to get involved in it, learn everything you need to know, okay, individually and separately from any other third-party software or AI hack or gimmick. There's plenty of gimmicks out there to produce the income for you. Okay, so learn your craft, and that takes time. And I always say, give yourself a minimum of 12 months. And I'm going to come on to the next thing, which is kind of expectations. A lot of people, and I've said this before, and I don't mean this in a derogatory or a bad way, but a lot of people are missold. And what they're missold is they're missold the expectations. So they'll start a business and they'll get sold on, you know, it's going to take 10 minutes a day. You know, you got to click 3 buttons and then sit back and watch the money roll in. You know, on the face of it, as a normal, intelligent person who hears that, you just go, that can't be true. And the old adage, if something is too good to be true, it probably is usually about right. And yes, I know there are AI systems out there that can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you now. And I leveraged one a little while ago, and yes, it did work. Okay, but it still doesn't cover the basis of learning your trade and setting your own expectations from the start. Okay, one of the other expectations is that we really underestimate what we can do as online business owners if we're starting from scratch. People always overestimate what they can do in the short term. So they get started with an online business, so they've got that initial spark of enthusiasm, which is never good. Okay, it's always good to be enthusiastic, but you've got to change the enthusiasm for discipline. And let's get into the meat and bones of developing this business. So we always overestimate what we can achieve in a month, and we underestimate what we can achieve in 12 months. That's why I say you've got to start out with the expectations of starting with 12 months. Okay, and think about your strategy. And think about your strategy and think about what skill set you've already got that you can bring to your online business. So if you do presenting, or if you do copywriting or writing for a job or vocation, whatever you do, introduce that into the online business. There are so many things that you can do. And one of the fastest and one of the most effective ways to start as a beginner is to document your journey on video, and document that journey doing long and short form video. And if you can learn that early on, and if you can get a handle on that, then you will be in a really good position to go to get into profits quickly. Okay, now there's no guarantees about that, but essentially documenting your journey is the quickest way to get an audience to know, like, and trust who you are. Okay, you get your name out there. Okay, and that is the quickest way. Which brings me on to number 3, which is the most interesting of all. It's what I call the diving board effect. Now, going back to when I was 7 years old, I went to a swimming pool with a friend of mine called Graham, and Graham was completely fearless, and he went to the diving, the swim baths most Friday nights after school. His dad used to take him, and he says to me, "Do you want to come?" And he always jumped off the top board. So I'd never done it before. We got changed, looked at the diving board, thought, well, it doesn't really look that high. It doesn't look that high. Graham, in his fearless self, went up the stairs. I followed him, and he jumped off. Okay, twizzled round, did a Tarzan call as he hit the water. And I looked over the edge, and I thought, oh, there's no way I'm doing that. This thing looks like about 1,000 feet in the air. There's no way I'm going to do it. And I froze. And I remember being stood on the edge of the top board of the platform, looking down, and a young kid came next to me, and he said, "Oh, do you want to jump off?" And, "Oh no, it's okay. You go." So this kid jumped off, and this happened quite a few times. Anyway, 45 minutes later, I'm still on the top board. I refused to go the walk of shame and come down. Didn't want to do that. And the lifeguard and everybody, I mean everybody in the pool was looking at me, cheering me on. Even the little woman with the shower cap, with the little cap on, like the woman that does that, 1,000 lengths, she was even stopped and said, "Come on, jump." Anyway, they counted me down, and I jumped. And I just remember the G-force on your face as you're going through the air. I hit the water, and as I came up, I could hear all these people cheering and applauding, and the exhilaration was incredible. The release of adrenaline was unbelievable, and the last 15 minutes, all I did was went to the top of the board, jumped off continuously. It was a rush. I couldn't believe it. And a lot of people need to get to that stage in their online business. If you're building your online business right now and you're thinking, I've got to do videos, but you're stood at the top board looking over going, I'm not really sure. I think my old boss might be watching. I think my parents might be watching. I think, what if I make a mistake? And you stood at the top board, and believe it, you just need to jump off. And you've got to jump off for yourself. There's no point being pushed, because that's just scary. Okay. You've got to jump off for yourself. And once you do that, that's when things happen. Because you realise, actually, you know what? Jumping off wasn't that scary. Jumping off, doing that video wasn't that scary. They might not look great, okay? If you're going to do a fancy dive into the water, you might splash or whatever. But at the same time, you've done it. And you've come full circle. And that's when you go from being an online business owner, just getting started, into an entrepreneur, into somebody who can generate income online. So look at those 3 things. The lack of knowledge. There are so many people who don't want to get involved. And like I said, the whole analogy of jumping in the water, jump in from a height and get all in. This is what we talk about, getting all in business. You've got to get all in, because if you don't, if you're dipping your toe in the water, you're only giving yourself a certain percentage of success. In fact, you're going to limit your success to a certain point where you're going to become the 98% of people that fail. And people don't really fail. People just kind of get put off and they quit. So yeah, we talk about failing in the normal scheme of business, where somebody could open a shop, years ago, and they lost 100 grand over the course of that business. Yes, that business failed, and it failed monumentally. Okay, but with an online business, maybe we get started for a bit of seed money, $500, $1,000, whatever. If we lose that money, it's not really detrimental to the rest of our lives. Okay, so people don't really quit. So people don't really fail, they just quit. Okay, so learn your skills and find a platform. Certainly, if you look at the link just below, I've got a platform that will give you everything you need. It's an all-in-one business, everything that you need to succeed. And that's what you need. You need that community that helps you learn your trade. You need the skills that help you to do the whole thing. Okay, so learn lack of knowledge, learn your craft. Next thing, expectations. Remember, this is a long game, and if you get involved in a business that doesn't set the right expectations by claiming that you can earn money by doing 3 or 4 little tasks a day, look into it and do your own due diligence. But in the most cases, they don't serve people long term. They're a short-term fix where you might make a few dollars and then that business will be gone, and then you'll be like, well, what happened there? Okay, the business is gone. Okay, you need to learn your skills. Okay, set those expectations and jump off the board. The biggest thing you can do is just jump off, because I tell you what, it's so exhilarating when you do that. And not every campaign that you do is going to be successful. In fact, probably 1 out of 10 is going to be the cash cow that works for you. But the journey is all part and parcel of it, and it's a great journey to be on. Okay. So, as I said, why do most online business fail miserably? It's simply just by not following those 3 things. So if you follow those 3 things, you've got a much better chance of becoming, I won't say successful, I will say you've got a better chance of just making some profit and making sustainable profit for the long term online and making it your full-time income. Now, how does that sound? Does that sound better than coming out with gimmicks? Of course it does. Right. So if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you look at the link just below, the first link will give you access to my affiliate program, where you get access to everything, including the training, including the business, including everything you need, the community. And I wouldn't be doing this without that community. Even though I've got 17 years experience doing this, you still need a safety net. You know, you still need to get to know about current trends and what's happening in the developments online. So have a look at that, and if you got some value from this, give us a big thumbs up, and any questions, drop me a comment just below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.